People never seem to believe me when I tell them that I relate a lot to Tsukushima, but what they fail to realize is that I too am a snarky, irritable, socially awkward bitch. Hey, it's Cecil, and it's Monday, and today we are back to talking about ships. Specifically, we're talking about a ship that has been near and dear to my heart for quite a while now, TsukkiYama. And to be clear, we're talking about this TsukkiYama, not this TsukkiYama. When I was active in the Haikyuu fandom, I kind of carved myself a place as the CEO of Pining Tsuki. And while I'm not as active in the fandom anymore for reasons, he still holds a very special place in my heart. And right alongside him is his best friend, Yamaguchi. I absolutely adore them as individual characters and naturally as a ship, as a dynamic. Childhood friends to lovers is probably one of my favorite tropes, and I'm not sure if it's just because I've known my partner since we were in middle school. But beyond that, I think that Tsukushima and Yamaguchi as characters just complement each other very well. So let's talk about them. From what we can tell, Tsukushima and Yamaguchi met towards the end of elementary school. Their meet cute, so to speak, was essentially Yamaguchi surrounded by a bunch of bullies who were beating up on him, and Tsukushima, who was walking past, said lame. When Yamaguchi is going through this flashback, he admits that he doesn't really know if Tsukushima was talking about him or the bullies. But either way, it was enough distraction for the bullies that Yamaguchi was effectively saved. They run into each other again when they are both headed towards the volleyball club. After that, they are basically attached at the hip. Now, we see these two scenes during the Moonrise arc, which is a very popular arc, I would say, both for people who enjoy Tsukushima as a character and people who enjoy Tsukiyama as a ship. I am at the cross section of both of these things, and okay, this is my interpretation. You don't have to agree. I just personally don't agree with what I've seen in a lot of fanon interpretations of this. A lot of the time, I see people act as though Yamaguchi basically forced his friendship onto Tsukushima in that first scene, and that Tsukushima just kind of put up with it and eventually accepted it. But I've rewatched and reread this scene many, many times, and the more that I do, the more distanced I feel from that interpretation. When they first run into each other in this, second meeting, yes, Tsukushima is absolutely awkward and he doesn't seem to know what to say or why Yamaguchi is talking to him in the first place. But we also know from this very same arc and a conversation that Tsukushima had with his older brother Akitoru that this isn't out of the ordinary. Tsukushima in elementary school, and middle school, and high school had a really difficult time getting along with the other kids, talking to the other kids. So, towards the end of elementary school, you're pretty much at that point where it's like, you know what, nobody likes me, no one's gonna like me, and that's just the way it is. So all of a sudden, Yamaguchi just starts talking to him like, alright, we're gonna be friends now. Tsukushima's like, what is this? What are you doing? I think that that's a completely normal and expected reaction. But once he realizes that Yamaguchi wants to talk to him and isn't just doing it out of some forced sense of politeness, he brings up what is his biggest flex card as a little 10-year-old, and that is that he believes at the time that his brother is the ace of Karasuno's volleyball team. See, for me, I don't know why he would even bother bringing that up if he didn't want to reciprocate the friendship in some way. Yamaguchi has offered friendship, and Tsukushima, not really knowing what to do with it, just goes with the one thing that, a lot of little kids do, which is this is a cool thing about me. Please like me. To me, it feels mutual. It feels like that's just the moment they decided that they were gonna be best friends. That's my take on it. But the version of TsukkiYama that we see the most is, of course, during their high school years, because Haikyuu takes place, for the most part, during their first year. Yamaguchi is noticeably more shy and awkward talking to people than Tsukishima, which often gets translated into him being a sweetheart who doesn't seem matched with someone as mean as Tsukishima, which never really feels accurate. They've been friends for at least 5 years at this point, if my internal math is correct. It's been a while since I've thought about it that hard, but they've been friends for at least 5 years, and in those 5 years, they have absolutely rubbed off on each other. I think that it takes a little bit longer to see the ways that Yamaguchi has rubbed off on Tsukishima, but you can definitely see from the first time that they are introduced that Tsukishima has rubbed off on Yamaguchi. They are mutually stinky. When Tsukishima starts getting on Hinata and Kageyama's nerves, Yamaguchi is right there behind him, backing him up, snickering at the overreaction of the volleyball idiots. I think to ignore the fact that they were very much accomplices and that Yamaguchi wasn't some unwitting bystander to Tsukishima's shenanigans does a great disservice both to Yamaguchi's character and to their dynamic as a whole. But again, this is just me. But of course, I also tend to think that it's a bit of a disservice to their dynamic to assume that Tsukishima is just putting up with Yamaguchi, or that they are not people who view each other as inherently equals until Moonrise arc. I will concede that Yamaguchi is definitely more of an echoer of Tsukishima's chaos. Tsukishima is a little bit more mean-spirited. He enjoys egging people on, and Yamaguchi mostly seems to find entertainment in what Tsukishima does rather than find entertainment in seeking out conflict with other people. So I think that's kind of that's the dynamic that I see, and we see that very consistently continue out until about their, now I don't want to say falling out because that doesn't really feel accurate, but there was a period of time in which their friendship did drift apart a little bit, and that is when Yamaguchi started getting more invested in volleyball and he started doing extra training to hopefully be able to help the team out more. Tsukishima at that point in time was not ready to dedicate more time to training. He didn't really understand why Yamaguchi was doing it, and it didn't necessarily cause an explicit conflict between them, but it definitely put a divide between them for a while. Now, I know I am definitely not the only Tsukishima shipper who absolutely adores the developments that happen throughout Moonrise. Moonrise is when this sort of drifting apart comes to a head. It gets to the point where Tsukishima is sort of lashing out at people way more than he needs to be because he's frustrated with himself, with conflicting ideals, with not being able to just neatly set the world in, this is something that's stupid, this is something that's okay. And he's so caught in his head that he has passed from mostly harmless antagonizing to putting down the other volleyball members for the fact that they want to get better. And of course, this is something that resonates with Yamaguchi very personally because he's one of them. He is one of the people who's working hard to get better. And maybe Tsukishima doesn't want to also do that and whatever, but he can't take that out on other people. And so that comes to the great confrontation in which Yamaguchi basically tells him, hey, you're acting like a dick. Stop it. Just because you don't care doesn't mean other people can't care. But also, why don't you care? You used to like volleyball. You can like volleyball. I think that Yamaguchi, compared to the rest of the team, obviously has the unique ability to pull Tsukishima out of his head. Tsukishima's biggest issue right now is that he doesn't feel like he should give himself permission to enjoy volleyball because he feels like he'd only be setting himself up for eventual disappointment, and that the disappointment is the worst thing in the world that could happen. And I think this scene is, while not in so many words, very much Yamaguchi telling him life is full of disappointments. Enjoy shit. Or at least that's the general message that's coming across. Like, you've gotta just stop. And then, for what appears to be the first time, Tsukishima calls Yamaguchi cool. He might have, thought it privately, but not wanted to say it because, embarrassing. But I think in that moment, he really respects not only Yamaguchi as a person, but the amount that Yamaguchi has grown since they started high school. Because, as I already mentioned, Yamaguchi is a shy person, all in all. He doesn't initiate conflict himself. So to have him call out Tsukishima on his bullshit, and to do it loudly and firmly, Tsukishima's like, damn, you're not the awkward, shy little kid that I met when we were in elementary school. You've grown up. You've grown into your own. You can take care of yourself now. That's pretty cool. And I think a combination of respect for Yamaguchi as well as the realization that, yeah, okay, he is making himself miserable by not letting himself enjoy a thing that he used to really love. He starts to go to extra practices, and we start to see the both of them grow exponentially. Throughout the tournament arcs, you see them being so supportive of each other and so proud of each other, and you see them really come together as the shield and spear of Karasuno. I think that watching their individual growth and then their team growth is just, it's really beautiful. I love watching their friendship develop. So yeah, whether it's as best friends or queer platonic partners or romantic partners, I I just really like their dynamic. I love their growth. I love the way that they grow as individuals and how that also helps them to grow together. I like that they push each other to be better. I really enjoy it. I think that they have a lovely dynamic. Thank you for listening to me ramble about my little guys. I could honestly go on about Tsukishima and Yamaguchi absolutely forever, but I won't because we don't have time for that. But I appreciate you for being here. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below telling me one of your favorite ships in Haikyuu. Don't worry if it's something different but involves one of these characters. I will be okay with that. I'm a multi-shipper, okay? As long as you're nice, we're all good. You can follow me in the links in the description box below, including my AO3, where I do have a good few Tsukishima fics, some of which got a little bit popular, so you may or may not already be familiar with them, but, feel free to give them a look and see if they are something you would be interested in reading. Be a bro, share this video with another bro, and if you have not done so yet, subscribe, because I make new videos every Monday. Bye!